SummerSlam 2024 is just around the corner, and with it being the second biggest show of the entire WWE calendar year, I want to make sure that you and your pretty little face get the most out of this show. And the best way to do that is to understand the storylines and the reasonings as to why people are in the middle of the ring beating each other up in the first place. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a crash course to help you understand every single feud going into this year's SummerSlam. And to celebrate SummerSlam, we just released 2 free Wrestling is Cool Match Club watch-alongs that you can find over on patreon.com/SantiZap. You're going to be able to find Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker in a hidden gem of a ladder match, as well as Brock Lesnar versus The Rock at SummerSlam 2002 entirely for free with our watch-along. I'll put the link to both of those watch-alongs in the pinned comment if you want to watch them. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's jump into it. Let's start things off by talking about the Intercontinental Championship match between the champion Sami Zayn defending against the challenger Braun Breaker. This is a very simple feud to follow in terms of motivations. It's just the young guy Braun Breaker trying to prove to the world that he's the next guy in line to be the top guy in the WWE by dethroning a veteran in Sami Zayn. It's a pretty simple one to follow. This is, however, a sequel to a match that's already happened at a previous WWE Premium Live event, that being Money in the Bank for that very same Intercontinental Championship. It's interesting to note that Sami Zayn actually won this match fairly clean and handedly, considering that Braun Breaker was being built up as this completely unstoppable machine that could be beaten by absolutely no one up to this point. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, Braun Breaker did not take losing to Sami Zayn very lightly, and on the next episode of Monday Night Raw, he would come out and absolutely destroy and obliterate Sami Zayn. Luckily, Ilya Dragunov came out to stop Braun Breaker from committing murder in front of millions of people. Because Ilya Dragunov came out and helped Sami Zayn repaid the favor per se and gave Ilya Dragunov an opportunity at that very same Intercontinental Championship that Braun Breaker has been drooling over the last couple of months. This was a fantastic match that, of course, angered Braun Breaker, who came out and destroyed everyone, including Ilya Dragunov, because he was pissed that this Intercontinental Championship opportunity was going to somebody else that wasn't himself. Because Braun Breaker interrupted Ilya's Intercontinental Championship opportunity, Adam Pearce decided to make an Intercontinental Championship #1 contenders match between Ilya Dragunov and Braun Breaker, where the winner would go on to take on Sami Zayn at SummerSlam for the Intercontinental Championship. And of course, this was a match that Braun Breaker ended up winning by TKO, once again affirming that Braun Breaker is this unstoppable badass. So we'll see if at SummerSlam he actually is that unstoppable badass and dethrones the unstoppable Sami Zayn, or as many people on the internet have been calling him, Sammy Hogan. Let's move over to the United States Championship match between the champion Logan Paul against the challenger LA Knight. More than anything, this is just a match that people have been clamoring for because these are just two guys that in terms of character just fit so well in terms of feuding against one another, and we've been right all along because so far the feud, even though, the interactions haven't been that many, has been an absolute delight. It really started with LA Knight calling out Logan Paul for never appearing on SmackDown and bringing the United States Championship with him, and LA Knight questioning Nick Aldis, who is the general manager of SmackDown, as to why his United States champion never shows up to work. We would occasionally get a couple of moments backstage that would never really materialize into anything meaningful between LA Knight and Logan Paul. That wasn't until Logan Paul had a tournament for Tetris, and when he came back from the tournament, he would find that LA Knight has been swimming in his swimming pool in a floaty in the middle of Puerto Rico, waiting for him to challenge him for the United States Championship. Technically, this was not a home invasion because it was Logan Paul's friend that technically allowed LA Knight to come in, so this was legal. Still, even though all of this was going on, Logan Paul was nowhere to be found and was not putting up his United States Championship up for grabs. Then we had the Money in the Bank Premium Live event, and SmackDown had several of these qualifying matches to see who would be in the ladder match. And in this one particular qualifying match, it was LA Knight that beat both Santos Escobar and Logan Paul by pinning Logan Paul the United States Championship, thus justifying LA Knight even more for this United States Championship opportunity that he's been clamoring for. We even had a moment on Friday Night SmackDown where LA Knight had already drafted up a contract for the United States Championship match at SummerSlam that only he had signed up to this point, and he did eventually get Logan Paul to appear on SmackDown to sign the contract as well. Words were exchanged. Logan Paul kind of dominated LA Knight on the microphone, even calling him by his first name, Sean. But to be fair, LA Knight was handcuffed and he can't say half the shit that you could probably find very easily on the internet about Logan Paul. And really, that's it. It's just a feud between two really entertaining guys on the microphone with a champion that's been absent and a guy that wants to be a fighting champion every single week on SmackDown. It's also a match that people have been clamoring for the better part of a year. Now let's talk about the WWE Women's Championship match between the champion Bayley defending against the Queen of the Ring winner, Nia Jax. And it's important to note that she's the Queen of the Ring winner because she made it all the way to the final and won said Queen of the Ring tournament, and Triple H had announced before the final that the winner of the Queen of the Ring tournament would get an automatic championship opportunity at SummerSlam, but with the champion of their respective brand, that being SmackDown, which is why it's Bayley. So in terms of motivations, like, it's pretty simple. Nia Jax won an opportunity just like you would win an opportunity if you were to win the Royal Rumble. However, there is plenty of history between these two. Back in 2017, there was a scheduled match for the WWE Raw Women's Championship between the champion Alexa Bliss and back then the hugger Bayley. However, before the match, Nia Jax, who was then seen as a very unsafe worker, accidentally injured Bayley, which kept Bayley out for several months and forced her to miss this match. This was, of course, a huge opportunity for Bayley, and she missed out on said opportunity because of Nia Jax's unprofessionalism. And they did have this interview segment where they were jabbing back and forth at one another, where Bayley did bring up the fact that Nia Jax injured her all the way back in 2017 because Nia Jax is big, clumsy, and unprofessional. After Money in the Bank, we had a couple of moments between Nia Jax and Bayley, but frankly, we haven't had very many. We did have a moment where both Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton confronted Bayley, where we almost got a cash-in from Tiffany Stratton, and we've even had a moment where in a tag match, Nia Jax pinned Bayley. But this is as deep as this feud goes in terms of what's going on in 2024. To me, this goes further than that. You gotta really look at the stuff that happened in 2017 to really make this an appetizing feud, because as it is, the stuff that they've been feeding us in 2024 hasn't been particularly entertaining. Now let's talk about the WWE Women's World Championship match between the champion Liv Morgan defending against Rhea Ripley. At one point, these two were actually best friends and tag partners. However, after taking too many losses, eventually Rhea Ripley snapped and attacked Liv Morgan, finally ending this friendship and tag partnership that they would have. Rhea Ripley would then join the Judgment Day back when it was Edge that was leading the group, and she would create an on-screen romantic relationship with her poppy, her Latino heat, Dirty Dominic Mysterio. I think it's also important to note that Rhea Ripley won the 2023 Women's Royal Rumble that gave her an opportunity against Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship, where she won by finally eliminating the last person, Liv Morgan. Rhea Ripley would take this Royal Rumble victory all the way to WrestleMania, win the Women's SmackDown Championship, and then be given the WWE Women's World Championship that we know today. In the early summer of 2023, Rhea Ripley would absolutely snap and destroy Liv Morgan's shoulder, an injury that would keep Liv Morgan out of action for a whole 8 months. Liv Morgan would come back at the 2024 Royal Rumble and poetically once again lose by being the last person eliminated. After that, for the next several months, we would get several stare downs between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, but nothing that ever boiled into violence. It was peaceful, at least, until Liv Morgan finally snapped and attacked Rhea Ripley backstage after Rhea Ripley had defended the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania 40 against Becky Lynch. And this would be an attack so severe that we would actually injure Rhea Ripley to the point where she had to relinquish her championship, a championship reign that was bordering on historic. This would vacate the championship that would be eventually won by Becky Lynch in a women's battle royal. Becky Lynch would then put up that championship at the King and Queen of the Ring PLE against Liv Morgan, where Liv Morgan would go on to win said Women's World Championship because of the accidental help of Dirty Dominic Mysterio. And then for the next several months, Liv Morgan would become infatuated with Dirty Dominic Mysterio, and to this day, I don't know if this was genuine emotion or if she was trying to manipulate Dominic Mysterio or manipulate her way into Judgment Day, because at this point she is what she's calling the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, where she's trying to take everything that Rhea Ripley knew and loved, which started with the Women's World Championship and then was followed up by her trying to win over poor, innocent, dirty Dominic Mysterio. And she even helped the Judgment Day win Tag Gold. That was up until Rhea Ripley came back from injury after several months of being out. When she returned, she caught dirty Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan about to almost kiss as they were celebrating a mixed tag team victory. Dirty Dominic Mysterio would then prove to Rhea Ripley that he's been innocent this entire time, that he's still loyal to his mommy, by absolutely berating and humiliating poor Liv Morgan on live TV to the point where Liv Morgan was left in tears. And now Liv Morgan's just an angry, vengeful, spiteful ex-girlfriend that was never technically a girlfriend? I don't know. Either way, this feud runs very, very deep.
Yeah. There you go, kid. So this would have been short. Oh man, Jeff, there's another table.
Where are these tables spawning from? Oh my God! Invisible Man is dead!
Let's go!
Oh my God!
All right, give me my money, man.
Oh, nice. That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, which is available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're going to be looking at the 2002 Tables, Ladders, and Chairs Classic. We're looking at the famous Randy Orton versus Cactus Jack street fight from Backlash 2004. We're looking at the famous The Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan in GCW. We're looking at Edge versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for the World Heavyweight Championship at Extreme Rules 2009. And the technical classic that was CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan at Over the Limit 2012. You can find these and every single other Wrestling is Cool Match Club watch along that we've done over on patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, you'll also get the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, and the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else in the world. So go check it out. I'm confident that if you even give it just 1 month, that you're gonna fall in love with it. There's content that we release on there that cannot appear on YouTube. It's just impossible. And there's content every single day on the Patreon. Okay, that's it. Back to the video. Here's a very simple feud to follow. Damian Priest versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther would win the King of the Ring tournament against Randy Orton, and just like Nia Jax, be given an opportunity at SummerSlam to face the champion of his respective brand, in this case, Raw, who had the World Heavyweight Championship. And to the surprise of many people, between King of the Ring and SummerSlam, Damian Priest had numerous opportunities to lose said championship, and in many of those opportunities, everyone was certain that he was going to lose, but Damian Priest held on, and he is going into SummerSlam as the champion. There was a back and forth between Gunther and Damian Priest, where Damian Priest talked about how he had to fight from the streets to earn his keep. Meanwhile, Gunther was the guy that was born and bred to be perfect, the guy that was handed every opportunity in life to be able to easily get ahead, which in the eyes of Gunther made Gunther the rightful heir to that championship and made Judgment Day and of course Damian Priest nothing but street trash. And just from that promo, it meant that Damian Priest and Gunther would just beat each other up on sight, and that's quite literally the entire feud. Now let's talk about the WWE Undisputed Championship feud between the champion Cody Rhodes against the challenger Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa, when he debuted on the main roster, went on a crazy win streak where he was incredibly protected, and just before WrestleMania 39, he would actually eat his first loss at the hands of Cody Rhodes. And then at WrestleMania 39, just as Cody Rhodes was about to put away Roman Reigns and become the undisputed WWE champion, in comes Solo Sikoa and just thumbs the living Christ out of poor Cody Rhodes, setting up Roman Reigns to be able to hit the spear and beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 39. We basically repeat this entire cycle again at WrestleMania 40, where Solo comes out to once again help Roman Reigns defeat Cody Rhodes, but this time it's legal because it's gonna be bloodline rules. But thanks, of course, to the GOAT, John Cena neutralized Solo Sikoa, which gave Cody Rhodes the opening to be able to pick up the victory victory over Roman Reigns and become the undisputed champion. After that, Roman Reigns would go on hiatus, leaving a power vacuum at the head of the table in the bloodline. And with a bloodline with no tribal chief, it meant that somebody needed to step up, and that someone ended up being Solo Sikoa, who transformed the bloodline from inside out by, of course, kicking out Jimmy Uso and bringing in Tama Tonga. Tonga Loa would also be added to the bloodline by Solo Sikoa in a debut that was almost disastrous and completely botched. Solo would then add his own enforcer to this new bloodline in the absolutely unstoppable Samoan werewolf Jacob Fatu. And just like that, we had Bloodline 2.0 led by what everyone is calling the Weekend Solo Sikoa and his backup dancers. But the transformation of the new bloodline wasn't complete until Solo Sikoa destroyed Roman Reigns' wise man Paul Heyman by putting him through a table Shield style. Then after Cody Rhodes defended the Undisputed Championship against AJ Styles in an I Quit match, Solo Sikoa came out and had a bit of a stare down for that WWE Undisputed Championship with Cody Rhodes. We then had a 6-man tag match at Money in the Bank between Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton taking on the Bloodline in a match where Solo Sikoa would actually pin Cody Rhodes, which would absolutely cement Solo Sikoa as the next rightful guy up at bat to go up against Cody Rhodes, and it just so happens that the next Premium Live event happened to be SummerSlam. And in the coming weeks, Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline would terrorize Cody Rhodes by beating up his friends Randy Orton and Kevin Owens in front of him. But what's interesting is that much of this feud actually revolves around the absence of Roman Reigns, wherein a lot, if dare I say, almost all of Solo Sikoa's backstage promos, he mentions that Roman Reigns wasn't man enough to be able to beat Cody Rhodes and that he had to step up to be that man for the bloodline. This is the reason why so many people are expecting Roman Reigns to return at this year's SummerSlam. Let's wrap things up with maybe my favorite feud going into this year's SummerSlam, the only non-title match, that being CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre with Seth Rollins as the special guest referee. Buckle up. First, you need to understand that late 2013, early 2014 CM Punk was a bitter man. He was angry, he was hurt, and he was more or less done with the WWE and professional wrestling in general. Contrast that to 2013, 2014 Drew McIntyre, who was just struggling with his career, playing air guitar, being part of a group called the 3-Man Band. After 2014, CM Punk would quit the WWE and quit professional wrestling altogether, all the way up until 2021, where he would join WWE's rival, All Elite Wrestling. He would then be fired from All Elite Wrestling due to an alleged altercation backstage at AEW All In between CM Punk and a guy named Jack Perry. Now, during CM Punk's absence from the WWE, Drew McIntyre would also leave WWE, reinvent himself, come back to the WWE, and become a bona fide stud and a main event guy and a WWE champion. But then at Survivor Series 2023, after being fired from All Elite Wrestling, CM Punk would freeze hell over and return to the WWE, something that no wrestling fan ever expected could happen. And during CM Punk's return at that year's Survivor Series in Chicago, you can find some grainy fan footage of Drew McIntyre being absolutely fucking pissed and furious that CM Punk was back in the WWE. Now, because this was captured by fans instead of by the WWE themselves, it kind of towed the line of maybe this is real anger, maybe this is not, we couldn't tell. CM Punk would then make his in-ring return to the WWE at this year's Royal Rumble, where he would actually be the last person eliminated. However, before being eliminated, he would tear his tricep right off the bone due to a move delivered to him by none other than Drew McIntyre. And this is where the 2013-2014 saga comes into play, because Drew McIntyre comes out, celebrates CM Punk's injury, gives us the famous line, "I prayed for this and it happened," and he tells the world it was because back in 2013-2014, when Drew McIntyre was down in the dumps, he went to CM Punk for help, for advice, and CM Punk just completely shrugged him off and told him to F off. Drew McIntyre would actually attack CM Punk during this segment, further injuring that tricep and making him disappear for several months. Now, during CM Punk's hiatus, we would have the Elimination Chamber match that would determine who would face Seth frickin' Rollins at this year's WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. And lo and behold, it was Drew McIntyre that would win that match, setting up Drew McIntyre versus Seth frickin' Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. But there's an added wrinkle in that CM Punk would be the special guest guest commentator. And in the match at WrestleMania 40 between Drew McIntyre and Seth freaking Rollins, Drew McIntyre would actually pick up the victory and finally finish his story of winning the big one in front of a big crowd, and Drew McIntyre would go immediately home and celebrate. Just kidding, he would then go to CM Punk, mock him for his injury, and flaunt the championship in front of him, which would cause CM Punk to then beat the living Christ out of Drew McIntyre, which would then set up Damian Priest to come out and cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase, taking the World Championship away from Drew McIntyre in less than 5 minutes. Drew McIntyre would then try to re-earn a #1 contendership at Backlash to try and win back that World Heavyweight Championship, but of course, CM Punk would once again interfere and prevent Drew McIntyre from being able to pick up the victory. Drew McIntyre would get another chance at the World Heavyweight Championship, this time in his home country of Glasgow, Scotland, at Clash at the Castle against the guy that cashed in on him at WrestleMania 40, Damian Priest. And just as Drew McIntyre was about to pick up the victory, out comes CM Punk to once again screw over Drew McIntyre by pretending to be a ref and refusing to count and distracting Drew McIntyre long enough to give Damian Priest the edge up, and of course for Damian Priest to pick up the victory. That being said, Drew McIntyre did get a big one-up moment on CM Punk in CM Punk's home city of Chicago by leaving him absolutely bloodied and taking his precious bracelet that had his wife's name and his dog's name, thus symbolizing that now CM Punk's family is now with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre would continue to do big things like winning the Money in the Bank briefcase, only to cash in that very same night and for CM Punk to stop the cash in, once again screwing over Drew McIntyre. Because this feud is so heated, because these guys hate each other so much, because these guys are willing to do anything and everything to screw each other over and basically kill each other, Adam Pearce had to appoint a special guest referee because no referee would touch this match with a 10-foot pole, and it ended up being a guy that hates both of them equally in Seth freaking Rollins. And that is how we got to CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre with Seth freaking Rollins as the special guest referee at SummerSlam. All right, folks, this is the video that you need to send to your friend that doesn't know anything about wrestling that's going to give SummerSlam a chance, or maybe your girlfriend. Who am I kidding? You don't have a girlfriend. Okay. All right. Goodbye. See ya. Take care. Bye. Okay. Get out of here.